Okay, so here we are in Empire of the Sun. We're going to start off with the Operation Z card, which is Pearl Harbor. I've moved 3 carriers and 1 battleship to the hex noted in the example of play. This is 3 hexes away from Oahu, which is where they must attack. They're actually not allowed to attack the carriers, which are out at this point. And the U.S. is not allowed to shoot back because of this card. They do not roll during the air-naval combat segment, and they defend at half strength. The U.S. marker will move to +8. And all we basically do here is roll a die to see how well the Japanese attack. They get +3 to the die for a surprise attack. Chances are that they will roll at least a 6. If they roll less than a 6, they do less damage than historically. If they roll a natural 9, they get a critical hit, which means they have more control over the damage they can do. I roll a 3, which puts us into the historical value. I've marked 36 strength points. That's to indicate 10 plus 14 is 24, plus 12 is 36 attack factors that those planes have on there. So I'm going to be able to do, normally it would be 36 points of damage, but the naval combat is half strength. So we follow exactly what happened here. Let's do this. BBMDCA takes 10 and is destroyed. Has a dot on it, so it can't come back into play. Let's see what else happens there. Pardon my hand shaking. I'm having trouble here. The 7 Air Force units take 20 hits. Now, let's see, that's 6 and 2. Oh no, defense is the center on the airplanes. So that would be 20, but they're halved, so that's only 10. And then here's the other 10. That's 20. And the New Orleans has to take 4. Now the reason the New Orleans has to take hits is because I couldn't have even hit the other things a second time had I not hit that once. No biggie there. And these units are not all destroyed. The 7th Air Force ones can come back as reinforcements, but our heavy cruiser here, or no, our battleship, it's the Maryland and the California, is destroyed. And now we'll go back and take care of Operation 1 IAI, whatever. Okay, so let's see what happens with this second card. I've already moved all the pieces. So the first battle is in Malaya. And we triggered a number of actions. One was marching down here along the railway. Now, that railway counts as transroute. It's a half movement point each. So I was able to move 1, 2, 3 into here and capture everything on the way. Likewise, moving up, not in, because it costs 1, 2, 3. Woods count 2 for jungles to move. But we also got this launched an attack here on Kotabaru, and that automatically forces Force Z to intercept, sort of. Alright. And I think that's the only battle. Oh no, wait. Okay. So that's the only battle hex 2112 that we're going to follow. And let's see what we got here. It's a surprise attack, so we get to go first. The army is not involved. So we've got 13 strength points up against 10. I don't believe things are halved here. No. 13 should not be able to eliminate 10, though. That's my problem, because that's going to take 20 hits to destroy. And yeah, I look at this and it doesn't look like it does. So I don't know how they got their results here. Oh, there's an air units as well. So let's see who else is involved in this. In support of the 25th Army, Congo moves here. The air unit, this guy, he's in it too. So we have a total strength of 33. Not, yeah, this is this pleasant. 33 strength points marked against 10. And now we go here. We got a +3 for surprise attack. Let me use the red die because we're Japan. And we get a 9 total, which is going to be a 1 times multiplier. That's sufficient to destroy Force Z, and it too goes into the pile. All right. Yeah, it's you know, it's not that bad a system. It's just it takes some getting used to, and there's so many things happening at once here. Oh, okay. And then there's a post-battle movement going back to Camran with the ship here, and theoretically that would be happening after all the battles. This has been used. Most of the rounds are not going to be this complex. One of the reasons why I'm doing this one out completely by the book, because I can't see. Okay, over to Borneo. 2311, we moved. Yeah, we moved from Camran down to here. This was successful. There's no fight because there's nothing that could intercept. And then the Mogami goes back. It was necessary because this is one of those indigenous amphibious cruisers that the Japanese have. They don't have to actually use amphibious transport to do that. Now, when I counted up the amphibious transport, it was all of it. It didn't all get used, so I guess you didn't really need to do these. Okay, so that's the Borneo round. Now over to Hong Kong. We're attacking, and it's just the 17th Army moving in here. So that's 9 strength points up against 4. And again, it's a surprise attack? I'm not sure. God. Okay. What is the defense? The defense is unable to be used. It looks like mixed, which should be a -2. By my book. There are no active air units involved in this. So that should be a 3, which is a 1 times, which means this is gonna take 9 hits, which will be 4, 8. Now it has a 3. The most it could do is 6 hits, which is insufficient to hit this, even if surprise isn't there. I'm not sure if surprise. It wouldn't make a lot of sense for surprise to completely affect a ground battle in that way, but I'm not positive of that. All right, so that's Hong Kong. Over to the Philippines, and I gotta take a break. This is okay. I pushed a little bit of food into my face, and that'll make this a little easier to face. Okay, so in the Philippines, a number of units that moved into various attacks, and we've got that spread all over here. In terms of battle, 2812, this hex. I have, I guess, a heavy cruiser and an infantry, And these air units, 1, 2, 3, 4, are in their extended range. Now, I thought you couldn't fight at extended range. That's what the rules seem to indicate to me. But first we have an air-naval combat against these. Now, oddly, well, maybe not that oddly, you can bombard the airplanes. This is a surprise attack. So the Japanese get to hit first. Let's see what we have. 2 air units against the, or 3 air units against 2. So let's calculate up what we have here. 12. But these are halved, so I have to add them first. 32. 54 is 26. Plus 12 is 38. That's what Japan should have there. Does that correspond with what they're saying? No, they say 39, because I can't divide. Okay. Right. Alright. So now we go here. Plus 3 for a surprise attack. And we get a total of 9, which means we do those 39 hits on these, which is going to be 2, 8. Uh-oh. I'm sorry. I lied. 10, 19. And now comes a question. I don't know if I have to hit the ground unit first or the other units. I'm going to go look that up. Okay, ground units can only be affected if there are no air and naval units, I think, to begin with. So what were we at? 39 hits. I took 19. That means I have, sounds to me like 20 left. That's enough to destroy both of these. They're yellow dot units, so they're gone. Well, now let's go back. The fact that they use almost the same system, but there's so many differences, makes it a little harder to understand, to grasp. Okay, so now we have, so the Japanese won the air-naval combat, and they happened to wipe out the U.S. Now they get to actually fight the ground combat. Otherwise they wouldn't have made it here. You have to clear the enemy airplanes out of the hex in order to actually do an invasion, I guess. Plus 2 for naval support, but there are no, okay. And plus 2 for air superiority is what I get here. So, what's the defense? The defense is, that looks like clear, I guess. So plus 2, plus 4 to the Japanese. The offensive used amphibious transport. I think so, but I'm not sure. Yeah, I think the indigenous counts as well. They don't list that, but let's see what we get here. So, that's a 0. So they got a 4. That's a 1 multiplier. And the U.S. got a 9. That's a 2 multiplier by my count. So they take 12. Japan is hit, but had 18 hits, I guess. I don't think anything else counts in there. What did we have? 18. That's 10. And it looks to me like the Japanese didn't take the hex. I'm not sure what that means. I think they have to retreat. I'm going to have to look that up too. That's what I would assume. Okay, so indeed they have to retreat. They have to go to, well, they can go anywhere. I'm going to send them back to 2909, which is where they came from. I'm not sure that's the best place. but they were actually defeated. Now let's go to the next battle. Okay, next one is 2913, which is over here. The Zuiko, which moved in, is able to do an air attack. It's got 8 strength points. That's not sufficient to hit the ground unit, but I think, let's see if I roll a 9. If I do, I have to look another thing up. No, I didn't. It might, critical hits do an extra point of damage, but they may not, well, no. They do a point of damage even if you wouldn't have done any damage. But I'm not sure that applies against ground units. Okay, so let's look here. However, we have air and naval modifiers, so that's +4 again. But it's +3 for the Americans. They get a natural 9. That's going to be sufficient to get them twice the hits. +3 puts us to twice. So 9 times 2 is 18, and we do 10. That's not enough to destroy it, right? Okay. But, on the other hand, it got 4, and times 2 is 8. That's not enough either. So they get to retreat. Now, historically, where do we retreat? 2912, which will be up here. And this landing happens. And does the Zuihu go anywhere? It's going to go back to Zvavo, Davo, something like that. I don't know where. I don't know if it has to make this decision yet, but I'm going to follow this because this is pretty unhappy to me. 2915. Maybe, maybe not. That's under attack. So let's see what happens there. Now again, this is one turn where everything hits at once. Normally you're doing one battle hex or maybe a couple, not the entire front. It's a great way to start things off, to have to do so much at once. Okay, let's go to Lidi. 3014, the Rihu attacks. I wonder where that is. Okay, well, there's nothing there. How does that work out? 3014, only the Japanese can cause damage because the surface unit can't shoot back. It's a surprise attack, so it's at +3. And we got a strength of 6. Okay, we get a 4, that's a half. That'll be 3 hits. That's not sufficient to do anything. So the Ryu did nothing there. Okay, now we go to 2915, where we hit Nachi. No, we have Nachi. That's my cruiser or whatever, and we have this. Okay, so Nachi gets to shoot first. Does it get a bonus? I think so. I'm not sure. It gets +3 for surprise then, if that's the case. And it rolls a 10, that's a 1 times. That'll be 10 hits, so it reduces that. But now, we go to the ground combat. Okay, and we have a, I don't have to worry about the American, they're too small, but we have a 9. I'm going to need at least a 1.5 to hit. And I'm only at +2 because I have naval units. There's no air, and I'm at a minus because that's some kind of terrain or another. I think that's mixed, but I can't tell. Yeah, it's got to be. So I'm only at +1, which doesn't seem very impressive, and I roll a 0, so I do no damage. Well, I don't know if that means I get to. I don't know if that means there's a retreat. See, they didn't win the ground battle. They were defeated there, but they caused a step loss. Yet another thing I have to look up. And yes, I know this is really painful on you guys, but I want to show you how difficult it is, at least for me, to learn something this different from what I'm used to. Okay, my reading is ground combat is something completely different. So we've got retreats here. Here with the Zuiho, the Ruiho has to pull out. Basically, the Japanese have failed in the Philippines. Yes, they've got footholds, but they certainly did not do as well as historically. In fact, they came very far from that. And I'm not really convinced that they're likely to do well. I think their historical results got fairly lucky. Maybe not. We'll see. At least in terms of the game. All right, well, let me move on to the South Pacific. What do we have? 40-17 went to 38-14. Okay, so we made an attack here in Guam, and that's successful. And then the kamikaze returns to Truk at 40-17. That doesn't sound bad. Might as well do that. Now, yeah, okay. So each of these headquarters has been activated here, and that's a difference. Most of the cards only allow you to activate one headquarters and only a couple of units. You're allowed some 26 units in this attack. All right, and then 40-17 went to Rabaul at 40-21. And that was successful. And does the fleet go back? Nope, it stays at Rabaul. And I don't know. I've got these control markers, but I don't know if I need them everywhere. All right, and then the final attack looks like it's in Wake. It's going to be 46-12. And we're attacking here. Now this plane was activated, 1, 2, 3, 4. It's at half strength because it's big, because it's far away. I've got the fleet in with this. So I've got a strength that looks like of 9 against a 2 defense. It's a surprise attack, so I should get the attack off first. Yeah, strength 9. Add 3 for surprise, but okay. So let's see what we get here. Well, we get a natural critical hit, which would mean I'd get to choose what to hit. But with a 9 at 1, I get to kill this thing. I don't believe I get to do any damage to the ground unit because it wasn't alone. All right, so now we keep going. They note specifically here that the Japanese are only able to reach here because they neutralized, because the event card says there are no zones of influence by the airplanes. And that is important. An invasion against an air without close air support, this bombing at distance doesn't count, just can't happen if there's enemy air power there. Okay, so now let's see what else we get here. We're going to be attacking the ground unit. We should have naval and air superiority by my count. I'm not sure if that's correct. Let's make sure. It does. Defense is halved on amphibious? I didn't know that. Okay, well, we should be at, I don't know if an island, I don't think it is anything. So I should have +4 here, which gets me to 2 times, and they're at +4, which also gets them to 2 times. So they do 4. Now, if that's right, this gets flipped, but I did 8, which is 6, and that's sufficient to kill the Marines. Now, let's see what happens here. Okay, so we have captured Wake. The fleet has to retreat, though, because there's not a port there. All right. To be continued. Well, moving forward into January, April 1942. I've withdrawn my units, I believe, to reasonable places, legal at least. But these big naval games, well, any naval game really that's operational or hex-based, basically, is very troubling to me. I've always had a lot of difficulty trying to conceive of what to do. One of the reasons why I followed the first turn as a cookbook, really, in addition to trying to learn this. What we're seeing, though, doesn't look good for Japan compared to the historical situation. Most of the actions worked out pretty much correctly, except for the Philippines. The Philippines, it looks like the U.S. has a real advantage there. And I think that's going to create a lot of problems because Japan now can't just focus on taking the Dutch out. They also have to finish off the Philippines. And that's going to be a lot harder without the surprise effects, which allowed their first turn to be supposedly more effective. There's really nothing else that happens on this first turn. It's just the battles. But I can't say that it looks good here. Anyway, we'll see what we get. I'll start dealing out cards. Now, the Japanese would normally only get 2 cards. They have a minimum of 4, though. But on the first 4 turns of the game, they have this little Japanese flag, which indicates... No, that's not what it indicates. Okay, so on the first 4 turns, they... Or maybe turns 2 through 4, I don't know. No, first 4. I think only 2 through 4. They get 7 cards instead of what they're due. And that hopefully is enough to start getting them enough resource hexes that they can maintain a 7-card hand at least for a couple more turns before U.S. forces start coming into heavy play. Speaking of which, we got reinforcements which I've separated by the different turns. So there's going to be a pile coming in. I'll start handling that and see where we end up.